a lot of the times you end up finding yourself in situations where you can't count the persons that you've been with intimately in one hand. You have to consult the other hand, and for some people, you have to consult the toes.
For me, like love was a feeling. Like, I don't have feelings for you. You see those things. You know that. I said, I don't have feelings for. Imagine if Jesus was going to say that to you. So for us to know what love is, or if you want to learn, let's learn of Jesus.
Welcome, callers, back to another episode. It's your host, Maps, and I'm here with my co-host, Samantha. Hi. And we're back with another episode 6, entitled Speaking Truth in Love. We are not alone today. We are joined by our guests, Anesu and Priscilla. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm okay. How are you, Samantha and Maps?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. Happy to be here. And thank you for inviting us over to have this interesting, intimate chat.
No problem. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourselves outside of being a couple? Just who are you as Priscilla? Who are you as Anesu?
Well, I'll start. I am Anesu, the name, an individual who happened to meet this amazing, beautiful woman. But as a person, I would define myself as a servant of the Lord. And I have found myself happiest when I am in spaces where I am doing God's will. I will get into a bit of the other side of mine and our life. That led me to the conclusion that my name is Anesu, a servant of the Lord. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm Priscilla from Mpumalanga. I was born in Zim and grew up in Mpumalanga. And I am a medical missionary. Yes. So, and I'm a Christian. And yes, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist.
Right. Thank you.
Right. So my first question for you is, how long have you all been married?
Do you want to know?
Yeah, we're just as curious as of yours.
Yeah. I think I'll give it to her.
I'm sure he doesn't know. Okay, we've been married for 2 years and 4 months now. Yeah, we'll be turning 4 months on the 11th of April, 2 years, 4 months. So yes, we've been married for 2 years and 4 months.
Yo, the approximation is insane.
I'm also shocked because definitely I didn't know it
He
to
rounded
the
it off.
detail. Yes,
You rounded it
we in our 3rd year. You know, it's yeah. She's the type that will tell you that the baby is now 36 months. Yeah.
So before you guys met, what were you each looking for in a partner, in a lifelong partner?
Okay, I'll start. The first thing, okay, I was praying for a God-fearing man, a man who loved God. And by God's grace, and God provided me like with this handsome man. And yeah, so this is the first thing that I was praying for, that like I need a godly man or a God-fearing man. What do I mean about God-fearing man? Like someone who do the work of the Lord most of the time, or someone who prioritize the work of God. So, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. At least someone finds me handsome.
When she said handsome, he was like, oh. Like, okay.
Yeah, I think it's only my mother and my wife who find me handsome. So yeah, man, I think I echo her sentiments in what I was looking for in a wife. I was looking for someone who fears the Lord because that is the foundation of a successful marriage, if you were to ask me. And on top of that, I also really wanted someone who knew what they wanted in a relationship and in life. So as we got to know each other, we found that we shared a lot of values when it comes to marriage, when it comes to our beliefs, when it comes to the way we're going to raise our child, relate with our in-laws. And I can say in our second year, 4 months, that it has been nothing short of amazing. Yes, there's been challenges, but I think that making the right choice, aided by God, will ease you into whatever challenges that you face, and you can come out the other side.
So, my question is it difficult to speak the truth to one another during tough times or situations?
Okay, let me start with this one. As we were brainstorming around the topic that you guys had told us you wanted to cover, we actually were happy because this is something that we established when we were still dating, if you will. The biggest question is always fidelity. I don't think anyone really cares whether I eat a spoon of sugar. I can't think of anything because I used to steal sugar when I was young. But if anyone is watching and stealing sugar, your teeth will come out. So yeah, you better stop. So I don't think when we speak in the context of marriage, it's the small things. But I do want to acknowledge that lies do build up. But I want to tackle the big elephant in the room, which is infidelity or cheating. How does one handle such? I'm going to use that as an example to answer your question. One of the things that we established while we were still dating was transparency, no matter what has happened. And I chose, to because I think it was me giving her what I would do, and I didn't expect her to choose the same. So, for instance, should I fall as the husband in marriage, should I be tempted and be overtaken? I decided and told my wife that, hey, hold me accountable if you see any funny behavior. And by God's grace, I'm not promising, right? But it's really my desire to say, should I ever be in a situation as such, I would want to open up to my wife and tell her that, hey, this is what's happened. And if there's anything to be salvaged, that's up to her. But I honestly, personally, feel that truth should always be shared, with the important aspect being in love.
Since I've known this man, like every time he will speak the truth. Whether we are in difficult situation or whether we are happy, he will speak the truth. But for me, it was difficult. Like at first, just to tell him like the truth, I have to run around the bush. Like,
Brainstorm.
Yes.
Prepare yourself.
Exactly. But now I've grown. I make sure he have taught me a lot. Now I make sure I speak the truth because we've promised each other to speak when there's something.
She's not a liar, by the way, to say she was holding lies from you or anything as such. But yeah, I think there's been difficult situations that has been perhaps a little hard for her to come forth and say, hey, dude, this is what's happened. But as she says, I think we've been growing together to share the uncomfortable, aspects of a relationship. Yeah.
So, of course, there are different forms of love. There's love for your friends. There's love that you show to your parents. There's love that you show to maybe even your colleagues. So, how do you walk away from one-sided relationships, whether as a couple or as individuals?
Yeah.
Just relationships where you feel like the love that you're trying to display, in whatever form it may be, is not being reciprocated.
Can I go for this one?
Yeah, of course.
Lovely. So it's a complex question that's layered, because as much as you may have a one-sided relationship with your parents, you can't get rid of them. As much as you may have a one-sided relationship with your grandmother, with your father, with your brother, unfortunately, he's there to stay. However, when we unpack the other layer, which is your friendships, which are your relationships, work and other professional relationships, the common denominator that I would want to apply to all these different relationships is transparency and boundaries. And we can just even term that as communication as well, because you would have to articulate those things. What I mean by that is once one is in a relationship with family, perhaps someone you can't get rid of, it becomes a little complex to walk away from such. But it's very important to make sure that you communicate, whether it be you coming over to visit for December holidays, but they never come to your house. Communicate that with your sister. Perhaps it's a simple misunderstanding and assumption that perhaps it's easier for you or you enjoy coming over more. Communicate that before you think of cutting a person off.
Yeah.
In my books, I don't think that's ever the wisest thing to do, unless, of course, there's abuse and there's danger of loss of life. Then when it comes to relationships, this is the answer that I had jumped to say I want to give. I think it's very important to lay a foundation as one begins in a romantic relationship. What you expect from the relationship. And I mean, I would say, ladies, don't be afraid to tell a guy your expectations, and guys should not be afraid either. Whether lobola seems impossible at the time, make your intentions clear to say, hey, as we go about this, and this is something that myself and Priscilla did when we were dating. We were friends at first. The friendship got a little special, and we both saw that gears are shifting now. And I was thinking how I'm gonna approach her, but then it so happened that we just had the conversation almost seamlessly, and the big question was, what are our intentions with this? And it wasn't a question that left the other party to say, I just want us to go to the beach. And it was so direct in that the other person made their intentions and expectations clear. If I'm going to enter into a relationship, I want to enter in it for marriage, right? And we shared that same sentiment. That we just knew that, okay, cool, if marriage is the next step, we don't have money, therefore someone needs to start working to raise up funds for lobola, the wedding, etc. So to answer the question in short, I know I've said many words, I would simply say that expectations should be communicated upfront, in love, of course. They shouldn't be ridiculous, and as you speak about those, they are negotiables, they're non-negotiables. And maybe I'm just, being long with the answer, but things for me like religion, our beliefs, how are you going to treat my parents, the in-laws, those are non-negotiables. But if she prefers brown rice and I prefer white rice, and, cool, we can work that out. We can cook two pots. If she prefers squeezing the toothpaste from the bottom, I prefer just, grabbing it by the throat. Those things can be negotiated, but I feel to avoid a situation where you are in a one-sided relationship, be open about expectations and see what's negotiable and what's not negotiable.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
We share the same sentiments, but what I can say when it comes to relationship, communication is the best key. If you communicate with your partner, and then everything will go smooth. If you like this, make sure you tell that person. I always tell him, I don't like this. Even if he repeats, I will tell him again, I don't like what you are doing. But I will have to repeat it over and over again. And at the end, he will end up understanding, and then we'll continue.
So now I apologize before I do what she doesn't like. It works that way. Yeah.
Right. So in y'all's opinion, what are the elements of a healthy, fulfilling relationship?
Communication is definitely one big element of a healthy relationship. whether things are hard, whether things are not hard, for me, that's key. And I'm just answering from the top of my mind. And I also want to put a disclaimer to say that if you are not content with God, and if you haven't found your worth in Him, and you are looking for it in a relationship, you won't find it there. So I strongly believe that one has to be fulfilled and has to be in a relationship with God before you can then find fulfillment in a relationship. And then when you are, things like a communication would be key. Things like, expectations, things like encouraging each other to do better, to be better, and growing together is a big key. Because if I marry her and we're the same persons at the same place, with the same achievements, with the same minds that we had when we met 10 years later, I wouldn't be satisfied in such a relationship. So there's an aspect of growth and communication. I think those are my biggest two, preceded by a relationship, personal one with God.
Communication. Yeah, maybe I can share a little bit of our our testimony. Okay. Yeah, in the house, we make sure we communicate to each other. So I can imagine, or before I say that, I can imagine in a house, it's the two of us or the three of us, and then something happens, or I did something to him, and then he'll be angry at me. And then we'll be quiet, the whole house.
There's
Or
tension.
If you see, are you going to be happy? No. Or is the relationship going to, will it be a healthy relationship? No. It won't. But if you communicate, my husband, what you did here, can we fix it? If you fix it, and then we end up knowing that, okay, my wife or my partner doesn't like this. We have to fix it first. You speak about it, and then that will be it. You move on.
I was waiting for the testimony. You said you were going to share a testimony about a relationship.
Okay. Okay, our marriage. In the house, we have established, I don't want to say a rule, but okay, a rule where we've wronged each other. If you wronged each other in the house, you have to go to your partner. You talk to your partner. And it has been working since we met. If we have like misunderstandings, you have to go to your partner, speak to your partner, and then after fixing things, you'll move on and everything will be smooth. You have a healthy relationship.
Let me jump in shortly. There was one day where it got so tense. We don't fight. We just have heated, discussions. Sometimes they are silent. But as she says, we have found that it's a lot better to, I can see when she's not okay. She can see when I'm not okay. And it's healthy to give a person space and time to, be by themselves. But the quicker you can speak, the Bible says that we shouldn't let the sun go down while we are angry. We are not prohibited from experiencing and exercising the emotions that God has given us. But the abuse, water is good, but if you drink too much, there's a lady that died having drunk a lot of water in a competition which was meant to win something, and she washed out all the electrolytes out of her system. Wow. So while we may be angry, the abuse of that would be going days on end without, speaking to each other. So I remember one day when things got so heated that she couldn't speak. I speak a lot in our relationship. And we ended up resorting to saying, you know what, here's a piece of paper. Here's a piece of paper for me. Write it. And she wrote. And I wrote. And as we went through the list now, you find that there are so many things that you would have otherwise assumed. I mean, if you give each other silent treatment, I can think, hey, does he want to hit me on the head with a pot? Does he want to leave? Separation. You can think so many things that are not there. But as we wrote the issues, and this is a very, cool trick for those that are married, sometimes when things are tough, even when things are okay, another culture that we have in our house is from time to time, we ask each other, what do you like about me? What do you not like? And we review again to see if there's been growth. Very relaxed. It's not even, yeah. So anyway, that day she wrote, I wrote, and as we went through the line items, okay, cool. This is how you feel. We spoke about it. No, I'm not satisfied, and we'd speak until she's satisfied or I'm satisfied. Move to the next item. I think we're at like 9 to 15 items each on the page. And a lot of the times you find that it's just a misunderstanding. Intentions are good. We married each other because we loved each other. Sometimes you are different people and you differ in opinion and you may misunderstand that. So, yeah.
All right. So I have 2 questions. You're looking nervous. The first being, what is love to you?
Okay. Okay, I can start. Yeah. Someone can say, love is love. What is that? According to my understanding and according to what I've read, love is a principle. What do I mean when I say love is a principle? Even if there's no money in the house, even if there's no food in the house, you have to love that person.
Oh, she's preaching now.
She's using your hands.
Because it's a principle. You can't say, because there's no money this month, let me just go home. I'll come back when there's money. That's not love. You have to keep that principle. Imagine if God says, I will love you when God says, or to you, God will say, okay, I'll love this person only when he's doing the good things to you. Imagine. How are you going to feel?
Not the best.
You see, but it has to be a principle. Love needs to remain love. So you need to love your person even if there is nothing. To show that you really love this person.
Through thick and thin.
Yeah.
True. That's why now you're reminding me of the vows. When you are getting married, you exchange vows. Through thick and thins, or for poor, for
For richer,
or for poorer, for
Richer.
you see. So if you are poor, then are you going to love that person? Or if you get poor, are you going to or are you going to continue loving that person? So you need to love that person. Whether you are happy or you are angry, you need to love that person.
Yeah. For me, I was just listening to what my wife was saying, and I can definitely agree to say that love is not an emotion, it's not a feeling. Those are nice things that come with being in love, and God has given us those things to experience. But when the emotions are over or when they run dry, love should still remain. That's what makes love a principle, a basis of a life together as a community, as a family, as partners in marriage. And I think the book of 1 Corinthians really, it's called the love chapter, and it has this beautiful, I could tell you what I think love is, and I can promise you that my definition would definitely be somewhat polluted by, the human experience that I have chosen. But in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, I'm just going to read from verse 4. Love suffereth long and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, It doesn't behave itself unseemly. It doesn't seek her own, is not easily provoked. It thinks no evil. It doesn't rejoice in sin, but rejoices in truth. It beareth all things, believeth all things, it hopeth all things, and love never fails. But then, the Apostle Paul goes on to mention all these other good works, how they can fail. But if one truly has love for God first and for their fellow partner, neighbor, or whoever, that will, remain forever. So for me, this is a very nice sum up of what love is.
And we we are memorizing this chapter since last week. So we're trying to memorize the chapter.
We're on verse 2. We're in verse
But
2.
verse
That's
two
good,
since last
great.
week.
Yes.
We're doing
So,
a verse a week.
yes.
Oh,
After
okay.
we pray, we do the memory verse for the week.
Yeah, we repeat it daily.
So it will help us to remind each other about what we've read.
That's adorable.
Cute, right?
It is cute. It is cute.
Yeah.
So with that, on those definitions of love, do you feel like love is something or principle, in your words, that can be taught, or is it an emotional principle that is in everyone? Everyone knows what love is and how to share love or how to express their love.
Maybe I can just have a go. A very difficult question that you ask, because when God created us, the ideal was for us to be persons who love Him fully, and as a result, we would find it easy to love each other on all aspects of our lives and relationships. Can it be taught? Absolutely, it can. But I would say God is love, and I was trying to page to the book of 1 John. It gives these contrasts of, someone who says that they love God, but they don't keep His commandments. They don't know Him, and they're a liar. And you get sentiments of, you can't say that you love God yet you hate your brother, and your brother is your neighbor, your wife, your mother. So I would want to say that the way that love can be taught is only through the knowledge of God. And perhaps we may have a lot of people saying, but what if I don't believe in God? What if, I just feel that I can love in and of myself? I feel without God there is no love, because God is love, and we learned that it's the disciple John who writes a lot about love. If you want to know more about love in the Bible, read the Gospel of John. For God so loved the world. Read the book of 1st, 2nd, 3rd John. It's all about love. So the one way love can be taught to people is for them to love God first, and that way His love will be imparted in you, and you can then be able to share it as a fountain to others. What about the people who don't know God? I mean, just look at the stats. Divorces, in the world. I was looking at the divorce rate in America the other day. It keeps going up. And look at the dynamic of family in our very own country of residence, South Africa, and you'd find that things are not okay. Because people have put God on one side and they assume that they can love each other or love their partners without loving God first. It just doesn't work. So yes, one can be taught love by loving God, and God would definitely take you through the journey of being a person who's not selfish and a person who's sacrificial. Yeah.
Yeah, I think us as youth, we need to be taught what love is. And I think the first thing that I can share is that you need to know God first, who God is. So if you know God, or if you know Jesus, and then you will know what love is. You won't even go around and do all these things. Like if you can see now, the youth. Or okay, the knowledge I knew before, I got married. It's like, for me, like love was a feeling. Like, I don't have feelings for you. You see those things, you know that. I said, I don't have feelings for. Imagine if Jesus was going to say that to you. I don't have feelings for you, man. I don't have. Was that going to be a genuine love? No. So for us to know what love is, or if you want to learn, let's learn of Jesus. And then we'll understand what love is. And then we won't go around and change like partners.
Yeah, trying to look for it.
Exactly. So if we know who Jesus is or who God is, and then we'll understand what love is.
So I'm actually thinking of a mini story right now. Okay. So imagine getting rich, getting married or falling in love with someone who's rich but doesn't have direction. And of course, maybe your parents won't approve it. Do you think that you should go with them or you should follow love?
I want to understand your scenario. There's a guy, he's rich.
Yes, but no direction.
Can you specify? Because I wanna maybe
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
No direction. How the guy is rich? He probably is doing something right. You know what you mean? No direction.
Oh, okay. So trust fund baby.
Sure.
This guy doesn't know what he's going to do as soon as that money finishes.
Yeah.
So we can put him as prodigal son context.
Sure.
And you fall in love with this guy. And your parents are obviously telling you, bro, you don't know this guy. He doesn't have a future. Do you think you should follow your parents or follow love?
Yeah.
Love.
Lovely. We're going to answer this together and we're going to have a little side conversation here. One of the things that we did, do you remember when we were still dating, there was a day we went to the botanical gardens? Yeah. You can still do that, by the way. There's life outside of the phone, of WhatsApp. And there's life outside of... Side note. I don't understand a relationship that thrives on watching a 2-hour movie together and you call that getting to know each other. Doing things that group,
You could do with a bunch
dates.
of friends.
Yeah, where you don't have a face-to-face moment with your person, getting to know them, So just a side note, you find that it's difficult at times, to really... When it was actually COVID where a lot of people divorced, the divorce rate spiked up. And the reason that was underlying was that people are not used to actually spending time together and they don't know each other. Therefore, when they were stuck in the same house, people chose to just dip out and find another plan. So we went to the botanical gardens. Back to the story, I digress. And that specific day, we were going through a book, which I recommend to every person. The book is free to download online on I think it's the egywhiteestate.org. The book is called Adventist Home.
Oh,
and I can
book.
also highly recommend Letters to Young Lovers. Very lovely book, which is free, so you don't need to buy it. So in that book, there's actually a part that addresses your question. And we listed out the requirements for a lady, the requirements for a guy to be a husband and a wife, respectively. And I still remember some from the top of my head. And to answer your question, seeking counsel from those of experience. And counsel does not mean that you gobble everything up. You take what's good, you discard what's bad. Counsel comes from experience. Someone can be of a different religion to you, but can still give you good counsel from their life experience. So when your parents speak to you and they see danger in a person, 99.99% of the times, I know there are complicated issues where, but 99.99% of the times, they're right. They've walked... We've got a 1 year. How old is our baby? I know she's 1, but she'll tell you the exact 1 year.
2 months.
2 months, right? in her mind, and we are seeing this, she thinks she's got it all figured out. But because of the outside view that we have, the bigger picture, we know that if she's going to touch the stove, she's going to burn. We know that this staircase is a bit steep for her. She's not, but she wants to take everything on. In the same manner, our parents, having walked the valley, the journey of life, they know when you're about to dip into a hole. They know when you are hiding that boyfriend and you are acting all, fuzzy around the house. They know, and they would corner you and say, my daughter, Maps, Samantha, who is it? What's going on? And you say, it's nothing, mom, it's nothing. They know. So in that breath, I would want to say it's wise to listen to them when they give you warning, right? And if you don't agree, tell them your side of the story. Work a way out. Let them counsel you. That's point number one. But, the question didn't ask what do you then look for in the right person. So maybe I will hand over before I go short left again and never come back. Yeah.
Can I ask the question again?
Yes, please.
So you heard the scenario, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I was asking, do you follow love or you follow your parents' counsel in that type of scenario?
It differs or it depends with the counsel that you get from the parents or from your parents.
Yes.
If it's a godly counsel or it's a sound counsel and they can see something from that guy who doesn't have that direction you're speaking about, and then you love that person, and then your parents say, don't go or don't fall for this man. Look what he's doing. The only thing he wants, just chasing money. Yes, he's doing business, he's doing all sorts of things, but he won't love you. He won't have time for you. If they tell you sound advice, you need to follow your parents.
Right. Yeah, I think, yeah.
My dad has something interesting that he's always told me, and this has stuck with me till today. He says, if something is truly meant for you, this is not a verse, by the way, this is just the wisdom of my father.
Oh, okay.
He says, if something is truly meant to be yours, let it go. If indeed it is truly yours, it will find its way back to you. Sometimes it's good to acknowledge the advice and perhaps step out of the situation for a while and have an outside look. If you want to, if you want to get a reliable answer, don't go to a person in love. Don't speak to a drunk person. Don't speak to a child, because a lot of the times there's delusion that comes with those, states that they're in. So go into relationships knowing that you are not objective. You are in love. You are compromised. Therefore, counsel from your friends, from your parents, friends that are God-fearing. Indeed, not friends that will tell you to go to the club at 1 a.m., would be something you need to consider, because they've got an extra pair of eyes that you don't have, because emotions have a way of blinding us. You can see red flags, but for some odd reason, you would have the best answers of why they are not there.
Wow.
It's giving Samson.
Yeah. So, as a young person myself, I find that the dating pool, especially when it comes to people or men, who come with this concept that, oh no, let's just date, see where it takes us. Oh, let's just go with the flow. Let's just test it out and see. My question is, what are some of the biggest mistakes you feel people my age adopt into somebody or a situation in which they're interested with someone?
Mistakes that young people like ourselves make when wanting to get into a new relationship.
Yeah.
There's this sentiment. I won't mention the production company, but they make a lot of kiddies movies, and in every other production or movie, it's follow your heart. Follow your heart. Follow your heart. Follow your heart. I think kids almost grow up with this mindset. And when you start listening to your pop music, your popular music, when you start listening to these R&Bs, and you get the sentiments of your heart being the right informant in your life. But the Bible has something very interesting to say about the heart. The Bible says the heart is deceitful above all things. Who can know it? Not even you can be very sure of, what can come out. I don't think there's a serial killer who ever planned to be one as they grew up. But because of the deceitfulness of the heart, because of circumstances in life, you find yourself, perhaps straying away. So the biggest mistake that I feel and that perhaps I have made in the past was to follow my heart above counsel from God, above counsel from parents, and my heart has always led me astray. So, yeah, I would say following one's heart is the biggest mistake. And there's a healthy way of really following one's desires. But if that's done above all other reason and, capabilities of thinking that God has given you, I think that's the biggest mistake that as youth we make. If you can't control your heart and following it when you are dating, I'll follow my heart into adultery when I'm married. So perhaps I want to hear what she has to say.
Just to add on what he says, one of the mistakes that I can think of in our minds, sometimes when someone is praying for someone, we're praying while the other eye is open. Say, God, okay, I need a God-fearing man. I need a God-fearing lady. But you have your own answer already on the other side. I want that person. The big bums or with slender. Like, we do that. Am I lying?
No, you're not lying.
I'm not. Like, we make that mistakes. If you see someone, wearing nice clothes, he's clean, or wait until you marry that person. The one you chose for yourself, not God. And then you will see. So you just ask God, Lord, I want this type of a person. Even if you have seen someone, I'm not saying it's wrong to look for someone. It's good. But don't say, but I want this. But at the same time, God, please, make sure, just ask God, inquire from him. Just ask from God, and God will do the rest.
While we're here, a big one is being intimate before you get married. The day that you sleep with someone is the day that your common sense goes. And I'm over generalizing, as I speak, but it's a huge mistake because you never really know if a person is truly yours until you've married the person. And a lot of the times you end up finding yourself in situations where you can't count the persons that you've been with intimately in one hand. You have to consult the other hand, and for some people you have to consult the toes to try and sum up the number. And that's a big one. So once you become intimate with a person, as ladies, there are things that happen in you psychologically. As men, there's something that also happens a lot of the times when you consult research papers, and I can always give references for our viewers a little later. Men typically lose interest in a girl after they've been intimate with her.
Yeah.
And girls oftentimes get clingy and they get very attached, having revealed their deepest of states, which is nakedness. And you find that you can almost compromise every other thing because a guy has seen your shame, your nakedness. So I think the Bible is spot on when it prohibits us from fornication, which is, sexual relations before marriage. Yes, we make mistakes. God is merciful to forgive us. if we are willing to then surrender and have Him give us the power to overcome in this over and hyper sexualized, world that we are now living in.
So, how do you build trust within a relationship based on speaking the truth in love?
How do we build trust?
Speak to your partner. Trust your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more you speak, and the more you will trust your partner. Just be open. Don't hide anything. He's your friend. He's your best friend. So if you just pour your heart to your partner, and then things will be good.
Yeah. I also think that it doesn't happen overnight when it comes to... But I'm trying to think, why are people in a marriage and not trusting each other? But building trust that is ever growing, it doesn't happen overnight. And as she says, speaking small things, I don't like the tone of your voice. When you say that I need to pick up my pajamas. I'm giving real life examples. I am challenged where the wardrobe is and whether, so sometimes my cupboards is on the ground, but we are not there. I didn't like the tone that you reprimanded me with. Can you maybe try and say that in a softer tone, in a more lovely way? The message will still get across. But if it becomes all up in arms and tit for tat, then you create a hostile situation. That's the example. Oh, I'm very sorry, my love. That was not the intention. No, it's cool. Next time she speaks softer, or perhaps I speak in a more loving way to her. Trust has been built. She makes a mistake, we communicate. She feels a certain way, we communicate. And as you do that, you will be building, your trust, and it can easily be broken. But I think communication and openness is the biggest way that one can build trust in a relationship. And prayer as well. Praying for one another openly. There are challenges that I have as a man. There are challenges that she has. And I come to her and I say, this is what I'm struggling with. Can we pray together? And, as we submit that problem to God, she trusts that God has the power to help me because I have consulted with her and we've given it to God together. Therefore, she doesn't even have to trust me. She can always go back to God to say, remember that prayer. This guy said he would do this, and that. He's not, can you, communicate, pray together a lot, read the Bible together, and trust is ever growing in a marriage.
So I just want to ask, what is the importance of having, or marriage in general? Because I've had conversations where people are like, oh, but I can love this person without being married. We can live together without being married. We can have children without being married. So what are the benefits, or why is it important to have a marriage or to be married before you start looking into, let's live together, let's have children together, let's do these things together?
I just want to refer to the scripture that where marriage was instituted in the Bible by God, not by a government, not by a person who was lonely, but by God. Verse 18 in the book of Genesis chapter 2 says, "And the Lord said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet, a partner. And out of the ground of the Lord God formed every beast of the field." And, it gets to a part where God then says in verse 24, after Eve has been created, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." This is the first marriage recorded in Scripture, God's design. So when God manufactures something, there are how to like a how-to manual that goes with that. Paul continues to write under inspiration in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7, speaking on how when the time has come when one is burning with desire. Of course, he was writing to a specific situation, but the principle still applies to us. When you've come to that stage where you are wanting to have kids, where you are wanting to have someone to speak to, someone to, be intimate with, we are told to marry. This is what the Bible informs us. Having established the principle from the Bible, I just want to speak about how they apply in our lives in a practical sense. If you have a child with someone who is not married to you, you put that child in a very complicated situation that you yourself would not desire to live in. I say that because commitment is one of the things that come with marriage. And I feel a lot of people are scared to commit. They would much rather enjoy the benefits of a rented car that you don't have to service, that you don't have to worry about depreciation, that you can just take back to company X, Y, or Z without the accountability, without the commitment. And you find people sleeping together, and because they are not committed to that person, they have not committed themselves to the Lord, and they haven't made that declaration publicly to say, this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, therefore we are a family. It's easy to walk out. I mean, it's like a temporary job. The moment I get a better offer at the next company, I'm gone. You don't have parents, you don't have family involved. You are just living together, a fat and sit, as they call it here in South Africa. So commitment is a big thing. A lot of people want to, they want to enjoy the milk of a cow that they don't own. So commitment is a big thing. The environment that you're going to raise for your kid, your own heart, the protection. You're constantly worrying about a person. And sure, people can be unfaithful in marriage, but if I'm not married to you, I can do what I want. If I get a job in America, I'm going. I don't need to consult you. And I don't think it's the best way to go about creating family. And a lot of people live as married when they're not. And it always ends in tears a lot of the times. And someone is always bound to suffer. But people do what they will. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to tell you what the Bible says, what the standard is, and my desire personally is to then meet that standard.
Yeah, you have said it all. There's a blessing in marriage. Yeah, there's nothing much I can say about this. I think he said everything. Yeah, I was thinking the same. But commitment, make sure you make a commitment with a person, and then God will do the rest for you.
By the way, this marriage topic is so deep in the Bible that God uses it as a symbol, as a motive to illustrate our relationship with Him. And there are times, by the way, God has emotions. There are times where God is really hurt by how uncommitted we are in this relationship with Him. And there's a very poor prophet in the Bible that was used as an illustration. His name is Hosea. And read that book, man. It's heartbreaking. He marries a wife. God tells him to go marry a prostitute. By the way, this is not marriage advice. Don't read that verse and go to Marabastad and go look for a lady. This was an illustration that God had commanded the prophet to do. And even in that, you see, God could have said, go take that woman because she's a prostitute. Don't marry her. Just live with her so that she can break your heart for you to see how I feel. But he sticks to the rules that he set in the beginning. He says, Hosea, go marry that woman. And when he does so, guess what the woman does, man? Before honeymoon is even over, she's back on the street. doing what she knows how to do best. And God says, go back, go get that woman. He goes back. The woman goes again to a point where he had to get his wife back from an auction where they were bidding prostitutes away. And he used up all the money that he had to buy his own wife back who had prostituted herself. And you find that illustration matching closely with how God emptied heaven to give us Jesus Christ so we could be reconciled back to him. So as much as we can speak lightly of marriage, I respect people's decisions. So does God. But marriage is so important, is so beautiful, and is so divine that God has used it as an example to communicate to us just how closely he loves us and how closely he is committed to saving us.
Oh, okay. So, what is your advice for couples that are seeking to be more truthful in their relationships?
Communicate. I think this is going to be just the song that we are going to sing until we walk out the studio.
Communication.
Just communicate, man. If you want to be more committed to each other, if you want to love one another more, communicate. If you like flowers, say you like flowers. Some of us grew up in homes where our mothers, we would take them out to restaurants, and when she comes back home, she would cook up because she doesn't, she's not filled by the food that we ate out. When you'd bring her flowers, she would say, "But these things are dying. Why are you bringing me this?" And with that context of an upbringing, I find it difficult to perhaps gift her with flowers. I'm making an example. But if she loves flowers, understanding my background, she should communicate, and as a result, I can then say, oh, it's not pap that she loves. Because, I see there's pap in the house. I think she's good. But you need to remember that, this is not your mother. This is your wife. So communicate what you like to one another. And I think, you won't go wrong with communication.
Yeah, that's the only advice we can give. Yeah, communicate. And the more you communicate is the more also you understand your partner.
Right. So we're running down to our last minutes for our podcast episode. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience, any advice that you'd like to give to them before we end off?
While Matthew was speaking about, the Gentiles and the worries of this life, I want to apply this verse to the discussion that we've had. By quoting Matthew chapter 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness and all these things. And I want to include marriage in that list, will be added unto you. And if you remember how we started this conversation, we said if God is in the center, if God is the one who we fall in love with first, every other thing will then be added unto us. Even in difficult times, you will stand and say, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So seek God, have a relationship with him. By the time you find someone, you will find yourself being on the same page with the same mind. And even amidst challenges, you will allow God through his word to give you counsel. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Love is a beautiful thing. I'm telling you, I'm speaking from experience. Love is a beautiful thing. I know many people out there, they will always say, I'm not going to get married. You see that one? Do you know that?
Yes.
Yes, but don't take advice from those people. People are different. Meet someone or find someone who love God. And then that person will love you and you enjoy marriage and you love each other until you die.
Right. Yeah. Callers, we have come to the end of our episode. Thank you once again for joining us. Samantha, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, thank you, thanks y'all for coming through. It was lovely having you both.
Thank you.
Samantha was doing more listening than speaking in
Yeah.
today's episode. I'm very surprised.
I'm
eh?
also surprised.
Yeah, she was the co-host.
Yeah, I'm like,
Well,
Yeah.
callers, stay tuned. Bye now.
bye. Thank you.
Thank you.